Right to Work President Mark Mix joins us. Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
And I will say this. I don't represent necessarily Missouri, but I represent the National Right to Work Committee, but we have interest in Missouri and yeah. So it's good to talk with you again, Vic. It is.
Right.
It is.
So now the teachers union, which is one of the most powerful unions. You know, it's crazy. You'd think when you talk about real powerful union, you talk about Teamsters, you talk about union guys, you know, we're talking about teachers, the most powerful union. And now they're trying to prolong the mask mandate for schools when clearly the science tells us not to.
Yeah, it's not surprising. It's not really the science anymore, Vic. It's political science now. The teachers union is kind of an outlier on that now. Most of the big city politicians, the mayors and the governors of those states like Illinois and your neighbor and California and New York, and now that they know that the political season is afoot and the elections and ballots are going out and people are voting, all of a sudden the political science overwhelms any science that may or may not have been there in the past, and that's what's happening here. The teachers union, to their credit, and you don't have to look very far or dig too deep to find out what their motivation is. I mean, they're not about the kids. We need to get over that notion that union officials, the teachers union specifically, are all about the kids. They are not. Local teachers are for the kids. The local unions are probably for the kids. But the international bosses of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten, she has no kids.
She's the worst.
And she's the president. She's a radical political operative who basically uses an opportunity like this. It was Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, said, "You never let a good crisis go to waste." And boy, oh boy, have the teachers unions, I think they've overplayed their hand, Vic, because now parents in Loudoun County, Virginia, and San Francisco, California, are saying to these people, you know what, no more. We found out that the emperor has no clothes, and the unions continue to push for it so they can implement their radical agenda. In Los Angeles, in order for the teachers to go back into the classroom, you had to defund the police, you had to give insurance to everyone, you had to give Medicaid to everyone. All of these radical positions had nothing to do with children in the classroom. So let's get over that notion. And to your point, Vic, they are powerful. And boy, the government unions are more powerful than the private sector unions by a long shot in America today.
And the teachers union, I believe, and I could be wrong. Okay, so if you're a teacher and I make you mad here, I'm sorry, but you can tell me I'm wrong. But I think they got some pretty darn good health benefits, like no co-pays, no premiums. So if I had all those, I would just keep my mouth shut and do my job.
Well, Vic, it used to be, and this is the fairy tales of old, but it used to be those people that went into the public sector, they went into government work, and whether it be in the schools or working for a city or a county or a state, that they recognized that the pay might not be as good and the benefits might not be as good as the private sector, but the job security and the consistency and the predictability of their work was something that was worth something. And now we as taxpayers are suffering through, a good chunk of the public sector government employees that have way better benefits and have way better pay than the people that employ them, if you will. And that's a function of just union power, straight out union power. In Missouri, for example, and Senator Onder had no reason to talk about this particular issue, but we used to challenge this idea. In Missouri, there were probably 5 or 6 years running back in the 1990s, where there was a question of whether or not the state of Missouri would allow the unionization of government employees. And every year, that bill was blocked in Jefferson City. And what happened was the Missouri Supreme Court stepped in and said, well, we're going to allow the unions to negotiate and bargain. And localities across Missouri started doing that, and that union power grew dramatically. And today, Vic, in the United States, there are more government union members in America than there are private sector union members. So that gives you another indication of just the power and the emphasis and the focus of the union movement as it relates to public sector employment.
All right. Real quick, last question. When did the hatred start for right to work? Because I remember when I first heard the phrase right to work, I tried to figure out what it was all about, and now looking back on it, I realized that everything the left says is not the truth. Actually, everything they say is a lie. And I started to figure it out for myself. But where and when did this hatred for you guys start?
when 5 railroad employees that were going to be forced to pay union dues to the brakemen and the firemen's union back in 1955, that's when it started. When anyone challenged union power that was granted by the federal government to force someone to join their organization, formally join their organization, and then pay dues in order to keep their jobs, and that was a pretty good business model. When you went after the business model, that's when the other side got angry and started finding other ways. Right to work's a nice, tight little title, and in the marketing business, you always want to go shorter than what you're attacking, and they can't go shorter than right to work, so they have to add things to it. That's when the hatred began, and frankly, workers in America understand our position. We know that 8 out of 10 Americans believe it's wrong to force a worker to pay union dues or fees to get or keep a job. You don't have to be anti-union to say that you get choice. You don't have to be anti-union to do that. But the hatred is because we're after their money. I had a cost accounting teacher in college at 8 o'clock in the morning, 3 days a week, who said, you could probably take a man's wife and you might be able to take his dog, but if you reach your hand in his pocket for his money, you get his attention.
Right.
That's why they hate right to work, because it's about dues.
And, paying dues to a union who might use that money for a different political agenda than what you believe in is a really sticky situation for the union member.
Oh, they would never do that, would they, Vic?
No.
Come on. Yeah.
Come on.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. About 95% of all the money they spend on politics is spent on one party. I won't tell you who that is.
No, I can't.
Ask Senator Andre next time he's on your show.
If he ever comes back. He was on with an idiot for a couple of minutes there. All right. Mark Mix, president of the National Right to Work Committee. I am so sorry I screwed up this entire interview, Mark, but it's always great to have you. And how do we find out more about the National Right to Work Committee?
They can find us on that amazing internet at nrtwc.org, nrtwc.org, for legislation, for litigation, and for their questions about the legality of their state or their position in the employment situation as it relates to right to work. They can find us at nrtw.org. That's our legal defense foundation.
All right, great. Mark, thanks again for coming on again. We'll chat again soon, okay?
All right, Vic, thanks.
You bet. Mark Mix, president of the National Right to Work Committee.